All right, well, good evening, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the July 3rd, 2024 Citizens Advisory Committee. Can we start with roll call, please?
Yes. Committee member Knight is excused. Committee member Kester.
Here.
Committee member, or Chair Harrington.
Here.
Vice Chair Minkoff, he's also excused. Committee member Terrell. Committee member Barney.
Hola.
He is here. Committee member Castillo White.
Here.
Committee member Rizzo.
Here.
Committee member Stephenson.
Here.
Committee member Stevens.
Here.
Committee member Sunderland.
Here.
Say that right. Okay.
Thank you. Chris, do you want to lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We don't have anybody here in the conference room, but I'd like to open it up to public comment for any non-agenda items. Anybody, anything they'd like to share?
Could I look here?
All right, not seeing anything. Nobody coming off mute. I think we will go ahead and move on to agenda item number 3, review and approval of the minutes from May 1st, such a long time ago, 2024.
I don't have any corrections.
Any corrections? Anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the meeting minutes of May 1st, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, that moves forward. Thank you, everybody. We are going to go ahead and move on to agenda item number 4, discussion items. And the first is we have 2 new committee members. So wanted to introduce Mr. Frank Stevens and James Sunderland. And I don't know if you guys want to take a couple minutes to introduce yourselves, or maybe we could all go around and do introductions of who we are and why we enjoy this committee and continue to show up every day. I don't know, do you guys want to start on this side? Oh, okay. I thought it's mean to pick on the new people first.
Hello to the new people, and welcome to the Citizens Advisory Committee. I've been in this town about 32 years, raised my 2 kids starting first grade and kindergarten, and they went on to schools here, and then the colleges nearby, and they were very invested. We know a lot of, we have made a lot of, fortunate to make a lot of friends and acquaintances, and discuss what they like about Troutdale and what their concerns are. My husband is also a city councilor here. He's served for over 12 years, and we just love our community. I also volunteer with church and some other things as well, but I really enjoy being part of a contributing voice to Troutdale. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adrian Kester. I've been a Troutdale resident for almost 6 years now. I live very close to downtown, just right up the hill. Yeah, I just chose a year or so ago to start getting involved in volunteering at the city, in addition to some of the other volunteer work I do with nonprofits and convention stuff. And just, I told myself a long time ago that I was done moving. I've lived in a lot of places in a lot of parts of the world, both very small towns and very, very large metropolitan areas. And I wanted to kind of bring some of that diversity of experience to what Troutdale is, and how, and trying to make this city that and the downtown in particular that I look at out my front door, as good as we can make it. So, yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Victoria Rizzo. I've lived in Troutdale for 44 years. I've been on this committee for 18 of that 44. And I substitute teach almost every day during school, and I'm on several other committees.
Wonderful. My name is Twyla Harrington, and I have lived here 18 years because I moved here when I had my first son, and he just graduated this year from Reynolds High School. Unfortunately, he will be moving away for college, but I have a second son also who's over at Reynolds. I volunteer on our city committees because I think it's important just to be part of the community, to know what's going on. And I really enjoy the people on the committee, and even though sometimes our opinions differ, I think that's what communities are, right? And we learn to work together and move forward and move our projects in the right direction.
Well, I'm Chris Barney, and gosh, I don't know how long I've been on the committee. It's been a while now. But yeah, I love the area of Troutdale. I actually grew up and I've lived most of my life in Boring, but I met a guy through my church and I rent a room for him out here now, and so this is where I've lived since that point.
Cool.
I'm Shelby Stephenson, and I've lived in Troutdale over 30 years, and when my kids were grown, I finally decided it was time to get involved in the community, more involved in having a voice and a say, since I didn't have all their games to go to and all their concerts and their recitals and all that stuff. So yes, I've just thoroughly enjoyed being on this. I started with this committee and I'm on another one, and I just really enjoy just contributing, so thanks.
Thank you for all your comments. My name's Frank Stevens. I've been a Troutdale resident since, 1991. We should talk. Our kids probably went to school together. 4 kids, 2 adopted, 2 biological. All 4 graduated from Reynolds High School and then moved on to other areas, much like you.
Yeah.
So 38 years later, I just retired from the military. I was with the Oregon Air Guard for years, and for me, it's this has been my base camp for those 38 years. Like every 6 months, I feel like I was gone. So my wife, I gotta give kudos to my wife. Yeah. So it's a chance for me to reach back to the community that I've spent a lifetime defending, and maybe give back a little bit of whatever little knowledge I have, and hopefully the more I know, the less I know. So if I ask a lot of questions, just bear with me.
Thank you and welcome. All right, James, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi there, and you can call me Jim as well. I'm currently in lower Earth orbit. You can probably see from my background. No, I've lived in Troutdale for 18 years. Before that, in Fairview. I grew up in Gresham, probably all of 3 miles away. So yeah, local boy. And just the kids are off to college and have a little bit more time, and just thought time to lend whatever help I can. I really love the little city that we live in, and just wanted to do my part. My background is, worked in technology, and I like riding bikes, and just like the city that we live in. So happy to meet you all. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Dakota, do you want to do introductions too?
Sure, yeah. My name is Dakota Meyer. I'm the associate planner here with the city. I've been here for just coming up on a year. It'll be a year next month. Prior to the city of Troutdale, I was with the city of Hillsborough for almost 5 years. And then prior to that, I had an internship at the city of Scappoose, which is where I'm from. Born and raised in Scappoose, for those of you who don't know, small town north of Portland. So that's something that was a big appeal to me, coming to work for the city of Troutdale. It's in a small town, while it is larger than Scappoose. It's I have that small town kind of blood in me, and it's nice to be able to come somewhere, work with a really close team, that we all get along really well, and being able to see the impacts of our work.
And I am Erica Palmer. I'm the Community Development Director here in Troutdale. I've been here almost 6 months. It's creeping up. Before taking this position here in Troutdale, I was the planning manager for the city of Sherwood for a little over 7 years. And then before that, I was out in the city of Fairview, out here, for about 3 years. And then I don't want to like age myself too much, but before that, I was in Clackamas County and then Lane County. But my very first planning job though was out in Cascade Locks, in the Gorge. And I've always have worked in small communities throughout Oregon. I love working in smaller towns because you get to wear a lot of different hats. And I love working out in this area. I just feel it's where my heart's at. And we have a great planning team here in Troutdale, and we have a lot of projects going on right now in the community development department.
Thank you. All right, well, anything else on that? Excited to have 2 new members and look forward to getting to know you guys over the next few months. It looks like our next discussion item, it always feels odd when we do this. Let's introduce and pick a leader. So we are gonna be doing our election for chair and vice chair. And they did email me just a few little highlights on this, and so I thought I might just read a few of these to you guys so that we all kind of have the same knowledge moving forward. So on the first meeting after June 30th is when we elect the new chair and vice chair. The current ones are myself, and Kevin is our vice chair, who is excused tonight. Just general knowledge, no person can serve as chair of more than 2 city committees, and I don't know that anybody here currently is on 2, so that's something to also keep in mind. The chair, if it's something that you guys are interested in, the role is presiding over meetings, preserving order at the meetings, recognizing speakers, deciding questions of order, and that sort of thing. And there's also, I don't know if it was attached to the minutes, the Roberts Rules of Order are what we refer to when we are trying to figure out how to create order and move things along. And then the vice chair would act as the presiding officer in the chair's absence, so take over meetings, that sort of thing. And that's basically the roles. So any questions or thoughts or interests in any of those roles? I stepped into this position because Shelley had to vacate the position. I was vice chair, and I am happy also to share that experience with anybody that might be interested. So my feelings would not be hurt if other people were nominated, so.
Well, I would nominate you, Twyla, for the chair.
You are very good.
I would second that.
But is anybody interested in any of those positions?
This is Jim. I'm happy to help out with vice chair, although I'm a newbie.
Newbie
I'm also interested in that one.
and vice chair. Great.
I'll gladly defer to someone who with more experience.
No, it's okay.
That's how these things go.
Okay, well, I would be happy to carry forward unless somebody else had an interest in any of those positions, Diane, I was making eye contact with you. And now?
No, thank you. No, I enjoyed you being chair, and I look forward to you continuing the momentum of the work that we've been doing. So I would hope personally that you would be our chair.
All right, so I think formally we have to,
Open a motion,
yeah,
open up the elections, and then you may hear the nominations. And then if there's any others, we'll continue. If not, then we'll have a motion to close the nomination for chair. We do this twice, once for chair and vice chair. And then after that, we open up the vote.
all right.
I will move to open nominations for chair.
I'll second it. And I make a motion to nominate Twyla to be the chair of the CAC.
And I can second that.
And if no other people are interested, I move to close nominations.
Perfect.
Second.
All right, so then we have a vote.
Yep. My roll call again.
All right.
Alrighty. Committee member Kester?
So.
So we're just voting
we're just
for yay or
voting.
nay?
Twyla.
Yeah. It's fine. Go for it.
Welcome to Robert's Rules.
Exactly.
Elections are always weird.
Boy, you're not kidding.
Okay, I gotta go all the way down here. Get to the next people. Committee member Barney?
Aye.
Committee member Castillo White?
Yes.
Committee member Rizzo?
Yes.
Committee member Stephenson?
Yes.
Committee member Stevens?
Aye.
Committee member Sunderland?
Aye.
Did I miss anybody that is present? No, okay. Okay, the motion passes.
Congratulations.
Yes, I will now move to open nominations for vice chair.
Seconded.
I nominate Kevin, even though he's not here.
This is Twyla, I second that.
I'll nominate Chris Barney.
Any others?
I nominate James Sunderland.
We already have two candidates. I'll decline the nomination. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Go ahead and close the nominations.
Yep.
I move that we close the nominations.
I'll second.
All right.
All right. Okay, so we go in order from who was nominated first, and then if they don't have enough votes, then we move down. So we'll start off with the vice chair nomination for committee member Minkoff. Committee member Kester.
No.
Committee member Barney.
Guess I'll vote no.
Committee member Castillo White.
No.
Committee member Rizzo.
Yes.
Committee member Stephenson.
No.
Committee member Stevens.
Nay.
Committee member Sunderland.
No.
Okay, that motion does not pass. Moving to The nomination for vice chair for committee member Barney. Committee member Kester?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to ask you last time, because I didn't ask you the first time, because you're the chair. Committee member Harrington?
Are we,
I'll
for the-
revert back
Okay.
to committee member Minkoff, sorry.
for Kevin?
Yes,
Okay, yes.
okay. Sorry, now moving back to committee member Barney. All right, we're gonna start from the top again. Committee member Kester?
Yes.
Okay. Committee member Harrington?
You can only have one yes, right?
Yes.
Okay, so abstaining.
Committee member Castillo White?
Yes.
Committee member Rizzo?
No,
Weird.
Yeah, that's true. Committee member Stephenson?
Yes.
Committee member Stevens?
Aye.
Committee member Sunderland?
Yes.
That motion passes.
Congratulations.
Chris Martin.
Chris. Good. I thought it was like soccer rules and you could get as many votes as you
I
wanted.
thought now I can go for.
I know. Oh, I should read these other treats a little bit more formally. Other treats. Yes, everybody wins. Well, congratulations and look forward to working with you in my absence. Yeah. All right. So our next agenda item is to appoint our Town Center Advisory Board representative. And I think, Victoria, you have been our representative from this committee, correct?
Right.
Okay, in the past, and I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what that board does, and then if you're still interested in that?
Yeah, I'm still very interested. We're gonna have a meeting shortly. And we're deciding what to do with, the town center area, mainly the area behind the mall and that area that we're, and, our one, contractor had a beg out because, they didn't wanna do it unless we could put the road through the mall. But the mall's not being, the mall owner isn't being very cooperative about that, so now we're making different plans. We're looking into other contractors, and so that's what our next meeting's about. We've already heard from one, so we're comparing them all and then gonna decide it. And I'd really like to stay on it, and Diane's on it too.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is Will Knight appointed to that position? Is that correct?
Will is an at-large,
No, he's at large, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I've been for here.
And you're on it also for, are you on it for this committee also, or is it a
No,
different one?
she's at
Okay.
large.
At large, okay.
Just, thank you.
So could I just clarify? So your position is basically a liaison, so you report back to this committee for what
Yes.
happens at that committee?
I have the same position except for a different committee.
Different committee, right, yeah. And you want to remain on,
Yes.
okay.
I think we all want to be on that committee. I do.
Well, we can
I
all
can't
show
be.
up.
I can't be.
I mean, it's an open meeting anyway.
Yeah, it's cool what's going on. Everybody's interested. It's talked about. Yeah, it's talked about.
My goal is, please let us get it done before I die.
What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I said, my goal is, please let us get it done before I die.
The convolence plan?
Yeah,
That's a lot.
Well, we're gonna develop it into stores and some apartments and some maybe
Yeah.
condominiums.
Yeah, it's a lot.
eventually.
Yeah, hopefully.
Shelby, are you on?
No, I can't be. It's fun. No, what I mean is that everyone's liking. It's very interesting.
No, but I'm
Yeah.
saying, I was seeing who else was interested in being that position for our committee.
Oh, I can't be that.
For
I
which-
mean, it's fine. I just need to stay involved how I am.
Do
Just
you
be
need an alternate for that position, or is, no, okay.
She's a member of our committee, but if for some reason she needed to resign, we would just elect another one at that time. So no, it's good. I nominate Victoria. We have to go through that.
Yeah, I mean, I would be interested, we start construction or the bids out for the path trail. Isn't that this week, the contract bid?
Yeah, the trail's pretty much
That's-
set.
That's decided.
Have we got an actual contract bid done?
That is a Dakota question.
Discuss these.
Actually, I think it's, I'm just passing it around, I
So this
believe.
is like the hot potato.
Hot potato, really?
So we're talking about the Sandy River project.
Yeah,
It is out to bid right now. It closes, I believe, well, it was gonna close on July 11th, but then we pushed it back a week, which I believe is July 18th.
Yeah.
And then from there, we'll see what the bids look like, and, we anticipate construction happening late this summer.
yeah,
Moving on that project.
I'm just interested, as an avid biker, walker, runner, I run that route pretty much every morning, so you'll see me cruising by with my dog Bobby as I go by, all the way down to the new Chop Trail. And that is gonna be a mecca for future economic, because connecting those two trails is gonna be a godsend to a lot of bikers that have been dealing with the truck stop for years. So you're gonna see a lot more biker and walker and dog walkers especially. So, yeah, so I'm interested, definitely. If you need any help, please let me know.
I think we need to attend the meetings, right?
I will be attending the meetings.
Yeah, you can come
They're,
to
they're
me.
lots of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is it?
They're very interesting.
Define fun.
So should we do a motion, Dakota, for this appointment?
We can't, it's not as formal as the
Okay.
elections, so it's more, if she wants to, then we could just do a quick vote, and, everybody in favor type
Do you
thing.
need a motion or?
No.
Shelby already did.
Yeah, she already made a motion.
Thank you for making a motion. Anybody want to make a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of
Aye.
Victoria?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody in opposition? Nobody I hear, so congratulations and thank you for representing for the CAC on that committee.
Yeah, I'll have news for you at the next, well, all three of us.
Yeah, sounds like everybody.
Next meeting.
That's great. And our last discussion item we have is our committee role discussion. And I know we made so much progress and then we kind of lost a little steam in not meeting last month. So I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we were gonna kind of look back and do some more work on our role development. Yes,
So
Adrian.
what I have, and I thought I had sent this in to add to the packet, but I don't know, it was a while ago, is sort of a red line edition of what we looked at the last time. So it's a little clearer as to what is changed language, what is new language, what is just moved around language. So, assuming I can share my screen here.
Is this draft, can that be shared?
Yeah, I think he's trying to
Yeah,
share
I'll
his
throw it up
screen.
on the screen here, and one way or another, the document itself will get around.
Yes, great, that's,
Okay, so everybody can
Yeah.
see this? All right. So the first page of this is pretty much just the language as is currently written, with a few minor formatting and acronym condensations for readability. So we'll skip that, because the meat of it is down here. So anything that is in plain text is original language, and essentially in the same place where it was before. Anything that is underlined is original language, just moved around a bit. And if it is in bold, it is new language that was added to this. So, and I did, mostly to attempt to save Paul some work, I tried really hard to go through and clean up the spelling and grammatical problems that was in the first draft. But the bulk of the new stuff is here in in section A. And to kind of, well, I mean, you can read it here. The sort of very, very short version of these 2 points is one, the first one is one of oversight over the citizen involvement program. Goal 1, I mean, the planning goal 1 goals. And then the second major bullet point there is adding or sort of codifying the role of this committee as a liaison between the city and the citizenry writ large. With some extra, I mean, just sort of expansion text added to both.
May I ask a question? What is the goal of coming up with this definition?
So to give you a little background to this discussion, there was several months ago, there was a question brought to the Citizens Advisory Committee by a citizen member, Mr. Paul Wilcox in particular. And there was a question as to what we could do as a committee officially in promoting those concerns up to city council. Because the actual text defining us as a committee is a little vague. So the first part of the impetus around this was answering that question. And the answer to that ultimately was yes, we can. The rabbit hole that we opened as part of that discussion was trying to put some more language around what we do as a committee, because when you asked 5 different people what the job of the Citizens Advisory Committee was, we ended up getting about 8 different answers. And so that was really the root of the effort, because we went down a pretty significant rabbit hole with Ray Young, the city manager, and tearing apart some of the language that is in the ordinance that defines us as a committee. And so there was a desire to sort of flesh out and clarify that language.
Okay.
And a few months ago, this draft was created, sort of as a first step to that.
Yeah, that all makes great sense. And is this something that we can just define by ourselves, or does this have to go back to the city council and be blessed of, yes, this is the extent of your role and responsibility as a committee?
Yeah, Dakota and
Yes.
staff can keep me honest here, but yes, it will eventually have to go back to council.
Okay.
Council adoption to be put in back into, to make the edits that I proposed, say this is exactly what we want to go with right now. Then that will go back to city council for adoption and then placed back into the municipal code, updating that old language.
Okay, thank you.
So, quick clarification question. I guess it's kind of silly, but I just wanted to be sure. I heard what you said about what the different texts mean, bold and not bold. I wonder what it means if it's bold and underlined.
That was probably Microsoft Word being stupid. If I had to hazard a guess, blaming things on Microsoft is usually pretty safe. But yeah, no, it's probably both, because the text itself is substantially existed in the original language, but it is moved, and because it's moved and because it's added to all of the other stuff, it kind of feels like a new language to me. So
Sorry, can I ask another question? Are we to review this as it stands in this meeting? Or is this a take-home assignment and we offer feedback and try to close on it in the next meeting? What's the plan to get to closure on this?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we are. We had planned on looking at it last meeting, but that one got canceled. So I would open that up myself. I would like to look at it, kind of print it out and really go through it. And then bring back any thoughts to the next meeting to discuss, but I'm open to hearing the processes that you guys think will work for you best.
Yeah, I wonder if we could maybe get copies emailed to us or something.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yep, yeah, if you shoot it my way, I'll send it out to everybody. And then at the next meeting, I'll have some printed copies as well. So I know that was a request last time to have some printed copies to kind of mark up and stuff if you like doing that way. I know committee member Terrell really likes to have paper in his hands.
And Adrian, if you get a chance, add that little key maybe at the top of what the bold and underlined means, because I'll probably forget.
Yeah, like that language right there.
Oh, perfect. Yes. Yeah, do that right there. Yeah.
You knew your audience.
Right there at the top, yeah. That language at the top, yeah.
Yeah, add that one. Yeah.
Say thank you to Adrian. You have done
Thank
a
you.
great job of pulling this together and really getting us a workable copy. And I think we are so close to coming forward with something we can,
Could I add the University of Oregon guide that was in the minutes from?
Yeah. I'm happy to send that out to both those who don't have it. I think everybody, you two are both new.
Yeah, so
I'm happy to send
I did
that
have a
out.
chance to look at it, but I didn't get deep into it.
Yeah, I have the
If you could
PDF
I think
version.
that'll,
that's a great idea.
Mr. Sutherland, is it Sutherland?
Yeah, please. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so that really gives the University of Oregon, as biased as I may be against them, a really good synopsis of planning in the community, just kind of an overview.
Yeah, and much of that did, at least I tried, did inform kind of what I tried to put into this.
Which reflected the language that you wrote, which is outstanding. Thank you so much for doing that. And I didn't care about the minor spelling corrections, by the way. I thought you did fine. I think it brought up some questions like the CIP for the city council was a valid question. And can anyone bring up a topic of discussion to the CAC? Those were the two things that stood out to me when I was reading it. Yeah, I think it was an awesome discussion. And honestly, being new to the committee, I would abstain. Drop check, gravity's still working. Yeah, so because James and I are both new to the council, we would have to abstain from past discussions. I mean, for Robert's rules, I think that's kind of appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so having another meeting, as much as it kind of, we're kicking the can, but yeah, I can see where you guys want to get it done and clarify what our job is. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and honestly, I makes no difference to me one way or another. As far as having more eyes on it, especially the review, the red line version of it is not a big deal.
Great. Well, that is a good plan. We will get it emailed out to everybody and we can put it on the agenda for next time and we'd be ready to move this work forward. Any other discussion on this? Any comment from anybody in the Zoom land? Any public comment on this? Okay.
Tyler, just
Oh,
one thing
sorry.
for,
I see you.
for those that aren't here, it'd be nice when we do get that email from whomever that it's like that this is a new document that for consideration, you know, that it's nice and bold, so people know that they could do their homework ahead of time, you know what I mean, instead of just come to the meeting and not be aware that we had some new information to review.
Very good call out, yeah.
Thank you.
Dakota, you should have that in your email momentarily.
Perfect.
All right, if there's no further comment on that agenda item, we are going to move on to staff communications.
Dakota, do you have any staff communications?
Actually, I was just gonna kind of go over basically some stuff on the document that you usually send out to PC, just some of the updates on our current projects that we have going on. So while I was out, The conditional use for Diplomat Motors was approved through Planning Commission. That's the one that is going up off of Sundial and Stark, right next to, I can't remember what the other auto dealer is.
Honda.
The Honda dealership up there. So it's right next door. Same owner, but Diplomat Motors is moving from their location down in the industrial park up to right next door. So they're leasing that from the Honda dealership. So that was approved at Planning Commission, thanks to both the assistant planner Nick and our director Palmer for getting that through for me since I was out of town. Next week at the Planning Commission, we have a variance project going for approval for a fence variance. The applicant has a fence in their front yard that's they're asking, I think it's 36% increase. Because it's a 6-foot fence, you're only allotted a 4-foot fence due to some needs in the home. So that's going to be going to Planning Commission next week. Also, we have another application in, which is also the NICS, the Assistant Planners Project, which is for a apartment complex, more townhome apartment style, that's going to be going in off of 257th, right across the street from Cherry Park. That is a project there, I believe they're putting in 15 units, and then they're requesting a couple of variances to setbacks. So that will be going to Planning Commission in August. That's again also the Assistant Planners Project that he's been working on. We do have a pre-application meeting coming up next week, and that is for, is it Taste the Village? The one that's right downtown? Yeah. They're coming in looking to purchase that property and turn it into a hotel. So they're coming in to discuss what kind of projects they're going to need, or what kind of permits they're going to need, and then all the requirements of the downtown that we're going to let them know about, because the downtown has additional standards to meet. It sounds like just from what they submitted, it's mainly interior, but if they are going to change anything exterior, then that does, there's certain design standards for the downtown zone, the town center that they need to meet. So we'll be having that meeting with them next week. And I know I usually get questions on this when I'm here. As you notice, Home Forward has broken ground. So they're moving forward now. They're anticipating opening, I believe it's January 2025?
18 months is what they told all
Yeah,
the
so-
neighbors for the construction,
From start to finish.
start to finish.
So we're going to be seeing that pop up pretty quickly.
What is that?
That's the Home Forward project that's actually going in right next to the Kellogg room, right next to the police station here in the field. So that is a, I don't want to misspeak on this.
Be careful.
Yes, that is a 84 unit apartment complex that was approved in 2022. They have all their building permits. So they're all ready to go to break ground and start construction. And they're working closely with our entire team, our director, as well as our building techs and our building manager are working with them very diligently, as well as our public works team. So they're asking questions, meeting regularly for that. Then also we have Wayfinder, which obviously is continuing underway. They're still, I believe they're anticipating opening that towards the end of August. Correct me if I'm wrong, I know you've had meetings with them. I believe it's August, later on this summer. They're anticipating opening. And they're still working as well on the old City Hall, and that's Away Days Brewing, and that's still currently under construction. So those are my updates.
Can I ask one clarifying
Of course.
question? On the application regarding the Taste of Village and changing that to a hotel, I feel like there's some apartments kind of on the back side of that, is that part of that building or is that separate?
It's a separate,
That's
yeah,
separate.
separate lot.
Okay.
They're, kind of, they're built, very closely together type thing, similar you see in typical cities. But they are on separate lots, so it's its
Okay.
own individual space.
Okay, good to know. And
Yeah.
is that, is it like a boutique style hotel or what?
Yeah, small,
Okay.
so from what I read so far, I've been putting together my notes. They're not planning on changing a whole lot to the exterior. It's more that second story that they're really trying to turn into a smaller style kind of boutique hotel. At least that's the idea right now.
That's so needed for the community. When we have family come and stay, everybody has to stay in Gresham, so that's great that there would be some more housing here, so
Yeah.
great.
So just a question about it fits code and so.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. Yeah, it's a permitted use. It's just more or less they're coming in. There's actually not a whole lot regarding planning, besides really letting them know of the town center design standards and the special standards for the downtown area. Other than it's a permitted use, so they just want to come in and see if they're going to need certain permits from us. And then as well as talk with building, really, it's gonna be a big talk with them with what kind of changes they're going to need and kind of building permits, because it's mainly interior from what I've seen. And again, that's, if they're doing anything exterior, that's really where we come in. Interior is more building, the permitted use and that's all.
Cool.
Yeah.
I did have a historic question, maybe you guys can help me out. Whatever happened to Troutdale, the restaurant?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I remember talking to the owner before COVID and he was talking about renovating and that was the last I heard.
Not sure. Yeah, that was prior to my time.
I
If
see.
anybody else has an answer to that,
Yeah.
happy to hear.
I had asked that question of Ray Young at the last council meeting, and the answer that I got was, and there was some rumor that they had seen some new cabinets going in, and there was some work that had been done, but some of that was news that was weeks or months old. As far as I have ever been able to find out, because I've asked this question repeatedly too,
Yeah.
No.
Well, I bike by it every day, so.
nobody knows.
Yeah. I just want, that and the clock is always in the same position, so.
Right? Well, we can come back with some additional information.
What time is it? Thank you.
Any other questions for Dakota? Oh, thanks, yes.
So this hotel, Taste of the Village, is that gonna still be a restaurant of some kind on the main level, or you don't even know, are they gonna be hotel?
I'd have
You don't even
to,
know.
I believe they're still planning on keeping, but I'd have to double check what they submitted. I
just
don't
was
know off the
curious.
top of my head right now. I just started looking at it this week,
Okay.
to prepare for the meeting next week.
That would be,
I believe they're still planning on keeping a restaurant in the base, so
Yeah.
kind of having that dual use. But again, I don't wanna
Yeah.
speak without
I
knowing
just was
fully.
curious.
So I can bring that information back. I'll know a lot more after next week as well.
I would be interested, because the building's not that big.
family restaurants.
I have
go to-
Dakota, I have a question. Historically, was that ever registered as a historic landmark? Was the historic landmark, how old is that building? Because there's a lot of old pictures of that, and
I'm not entirely sure. I know it's not on our list of historic landmarks within the city.
okay, well, was there any, poor Sharon's health isn't the best, but was there any cooperation or reach out to the historical society and just communicating on that piece of property?
Not right now. This is very preemptive.
Okay.
They're just more asking questions. If they do come in with any sort of application for planning, then that's when we would, if need be, we would hand that or pass that off for comments from the historical committee, and then also obviously TCAB would be receiving it too, because it's within their realm. So they would also be receiving it for comment as well.
Okay, and past use before was hotel on top, was it multiple rooms, if I'm not
I think it was
mistaken?
rooms. I'm not sure if it was hotel or
Okay.
apartment, like apartment style, but there is like rooms above that have been there for a long. They've been vacant, but they were there originally at one time.
Thank you.
Just FYI, I'm on the historical commission,
Oh,
so, you're on the meter.
There you go.
Thank you.
Great. Well, I have a couple comments this evening. Even though I'm not here at every meeting, I do watch and keep my ears open. So tonight, I have brought in a matrix and I also have it online. So Jim, hold on 1 second and I will share the screen. So over and Jim, I'll make sure this is emailed to you as
Okay,
well.
Great, thank you.
So over the past couple of meetings, I have listened to the CAC and there have been some questions about what are the different application types in planning and how are those application types reviewed? And then how do we engage the community on those application types? And I know planning can be complicated, and this matrix might be a little complicated to look at if you're not used to looking at matrices, but I'm gonna go over it. And then if we have any questions, we can, Dakota and I are here to talk about planning questions. But in that first column, we have what we call our current planning applications. And we have type 1s, type 2s, and type 3s. And the type 1 decisions are the decision makers, staff. And those are pretty simple, clear and objective land use applications. So we have like lot line adjustments, minor partition plat, final plat review, subdivision plat review for less than 4 lots. Our flood hazard permit, sign permits, site development review and variances are on here too, but then you also see down below where we have site development review and variances in type 3, in type 2 and type 3. In our development code, it spells out in a little bit more detail what that means. So for example, like a type 1 site development review is a very minor review if somebody changes their landscaping or parking, for example. And they're asking for a small variance, like less than
10%. Less than 10%. Like if they're changing their facade of a building, if it's less than 10%, if they're expanding a building, less than 10%, that would fall under type 1.
Could you define temporary structure?
Temporary structure is, for example, but let's use Home Forward, for example, they're going to need construction trailers on site. So that would be, they have to go through to make sure that they're placed in the proper location, if there's gonna be parking and stuff like that, so we have them go through it.
Would that encompass pilot projects or anything along those lines?
Sorry, what was that?
If there was a pilot project, like a temporary structure for a pilot project, if planning came up with like hey, we wanna try something out.
I'm not entirely sure. I've never had that question before. It's a good
I've
question.
never had that question. I guess it would depend on what the structure is used for.
Yeah.
And where it's gonna be located.
I'm big in transportation, so, yeah, some contact with Hoboken, New Jersey, and they use pilot projects in their city to try things out temporarily. And then when they took them away, everyone complained, and then they became permanent. So I just wonder where that fits in your land use application.
That would either fall under a temporary structure type 1, or it may be determined, there may be a determination that it doesn't require review. It would just be, hey, this is a short duration project where it wouldn't require planning review. Then we'd be involved in, say, if there's any sort of construction, like, building, if it's a minor building permit to construct something minor that's easily gonna be removed, then we would be reviewing on the building side. We would be sent that to review. More than likely, since it's, if it's a pilot project that's affecting the citizens, then we would more than likely review it. So we can give notice to let people know that they're gonna be affected in some sort of way, or they have a chance to comment.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Cool. Thank you.
And then in the column just to the right there, we have our community engagement. And that column shows the engagement that is required by law, by the state. Those are highlighted in bold. And then other ways we engage the community as well. So for those type 1 application types, no public notice is actually required by the state. So we don't have any public notice activities for those type 1 applications. But when we move down into the type 2 application types, where we start to see bigger projects, we have, different community engagement types. We have to do a property notice within 250 feet of surrounding property owners. And then we also put the notice in the newspaper. And then we have a project page on our website that shows what projects are going on. And then community members can, write in if they have any comments to planning staff, like what their concerns might be.
When you say newspaper, you're referring to?
The Gresham Outlook,
Okay.
that's our community newspaper.
Do you think that language will ever be updated as newspapers become obsolete?
Maybe, it is, that was a question I've had a lot, like, why do we still do this type thing? But it is still, has not been removed, it's very strict in the ORS that it has to be, so until the state decides to change that, we will not be changing that. That's why most cities, and us included, we post it on our website.
Yeah.
Because I think people see that more.
I think people.
The newspapers now post them on their website, rather than just in the paper copy.
Is the Troutdale Champion on the list as well, or?
It's not, because it doesn't come out frequent enough.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And
It
then we
doesn't meet the
have
state standards.
our type 3 applications, and the decision maker on those type 3 applications is the planning commission. And so, we see, like bigger site plan reviews, planned unit developments, all conditional use permits, bigger types of variances that impact the community. And with those type 3 applications, we do a 500-foot public hearing notice to surrounding property owners. We actually go out and we post the site with a land use notice board. You might have seen those driving around town from time to time. The public notice is also published in the paper. Once again, we use our website. Community members can come testify to the planning commission or relay their concerns in writing to staff. And then, depending on the type 3 application and depending if there's time or not, sometimes we may do an article in the Champion, or maybe the Gresham Outlook picks up the application type, or we do some type of social media posting about it.
And the reason why we can place type 3s in the Champion rather than type 2s is there's a longer process. So we have more time. Unless it's something that's, being rushed and say planning commission really wants to see it right away, or we try to help the applicants get things like, hey, how quickly can we do this? We have to still meet our requirements. So we can't just put something in next week to planning commission now. We have to give time for noticing. So because that, for example, if the Champion was going to be coming out with an article prior to the August planning commission meeting, that project that's going to that could potentially be in there. But it's not a requirement, it would always be in the other one, because we do have a chance to notice that one weekly.
So I noticed how sorry, I don't mean to dominate the conversation here. If opposed, they must address how the application is not meeting a specific code standard. Is that the only way to oppose?
You're always welcome to have a comment in opposition of any project.
I just think of the comprehensive plan as a policy standard, which would validate potential opposition. If it's not in line with the comprehensive plan, then
Exactly, and that's
or strategic plan.
that comes into play. Basically, any sort of opposition that we receive as planners, we do respond to. However, if the opposition is not based on the approval criteria of why this should not be built, then we will respond in basically that kind of same fashion, where we hear you, this is why it can move forward, unless there's specific code, then say, hey, it doesn't meet this criteria because X, Y, look at how it doesn't meet, in which case then we would have to either respond of how it does, or it doesn't meet, and we have to rethink how that does.
Yeah.
Or how it could with conditions.
How it could with conditions.
Well, and I understand the process to not make it frivolous and just stagnate in discussion rather than actually getting things accomplished. I understand that, so, yeah.
And I don't wanna get into too much of the planning weeds, but I just have to say, and I always have to remind people too, we do have this comprehensive plan, right, for the city.
do.
That's the long-term vision.
That's actually one of our duties, isn't it?
And that comprehensive plan needs to always align with our development code. So we're always looking
No
at
pressure
that.
though.
I know, so we always need to be looking at that development code criteria to make sure that aligns with the community's vision.
I have a question for Dakota. Dakota, typically in the past, when type threes have come before planning, have you always, in the past, I'm not judging or whatever, have you always briefed the CAC upon a type 3 coming up?
No, just basically in staff communication, say, hey, here's just a project here for everybody to be aware of.
Okay.
But not a full-on briefing as like, hey, here's the project, because the decision body is the planning commission. I just like to update everybody of here's what the city's currently working on, because it is CAC's, the public are allowed to have a comment. Just because you're not within that, say 500 square foot or 500 foot radius doesn't mean you can't have a comment on it.
Okay,
So-
the reason I'm asking is just because collectively, we're trying to represent the community, help represent the community, but individually as well, that it may be nice, the CAC may want just a little bit more meat on that, the type threes, to say, you know, like, maybe we say got a type 3 coming up, but to maybe go into a little bit of what the issues are, and then just so we know, so then individually, if we choose to go, we're a little bit more informed that we go to a meeting. Do you know what I mean, or follow up individually, or if we think that we may know people that might, in the community, that might be a concern too. So it just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I can put that on and kind of put the whole narrative, like, not the whole
Yeah, and
narrative,
only if everybody's in
but put
agreement,
the-
but I'm thinking that might be interesting, because then that way we're not, hey, how did that become a 4-story building? Do you know what I mean? And, or you know what I mean later on, so just that we're, just had our time to voice, do our own comment individually or collectively.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to always inform, like it's the point of this, committee is to be informed and inform the community, and then also bring stuff back from the community, so yeah, that's something we can always do.
Thank you.
One thing that I noticed, and I know this has been a point of discussion in more than one application, but the idea that that notices go to property owners is sometimes an issue, and not to residents. Case in point being the lengthy discussion about the development down by the RV park. In that the owner knew as a property owner, but the swath of residents there weren't necessarily notified. And like the same thing would potentially hold true if there was an application dealing with any number of apartment complexes. So, I mean, has there been any thought of formalizing notifications other than the street signs, going out to residents and mailing addresses rather than just to property owners?
So we added a blurb, like a section in our notices, notifying like, hey, if you are the property owner and not the residents, please pass this information along. That's really the most we can do, because we don't have the information. So our system, when we put it in there, how we get the addresses, it gives us property owner information. It doesn't give us residents, it gives us whoever, it's based on tax codes, right? So that's why that's the best that we can really kind of do at this point until we have maybe an updated system or something. I'm not entirely sure how that works. But that's why we noticed that, especially with hearing the feedback, that no one was noticed down there. And that's not something that we try to do because we don't want to try to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. So that's why we added the blurb to the end to make sure that it's in bold. It's not tucked away, it's not fine print, it's definitely very much in bold. Please pass this on to the residents that's affected by this application. So that's what we're trying to do that. We just don't have the information or a way to put all that information. We don't have a way to collect the address information when we grab the mailing labels. Because it just goes based on the tax lot information, which is the tax code.
Show me.
So doesn't, potentially, they would have to put a sign up, you guys would be putting a sign up so that the property owners might find out, unless I guess it's too small of an item, it's a type 2 or type 2 where you put a notice up?
Type 3s is when we
Okay,
notice
so you
the
don't do a
property.
notice on, and so was that one by the Sandy, or by the RV park, was that a type 2?
That was a type 2.
That's why.
Yes.
Okay, so I thought we already, as a city, do double the state requirement on notification areas. Like the state requires
We do.
100 feet, we notify 200 feet. If it's 250, we do 500 feet. So these ones that are in bold, those are the state requirements and we do twice as much, or those are what we are doing?
Those are actually what we're doing.
What we do.
What we're
So
doing.
this,
Okay.
you are exactly right, Shelby. So the state does have a lower minimum. The city has bumped that up in our development code.
I think it's 100 feet and 300 feet.
Yeah.
And so we do 250 and 500.
Okay, okay, so I was thinking that if we're ever able to influence, that would be another way to potentially catch the residents beyond just the property owner. If the threshold had to be a little bit lower, then maybe we could just be noticing. I know that involves some costs though, to put some stuff all the time up, but that might, rather than worrying about how to log in and put all these addresses in to notify somebody, but just a broader spectrum. But I think we're already trying to work harder as a group to try to get more people to even know about things happening. So, anyway, that's all I have to say.
Perfect. Chris?
Okay, I think I have 2 questions. I guess I wanna make sure I understand this, so with the 250 and 500 feet, is that like a radius of people that may be affected by whatever the project is, or?
Correct. From the tax lot, so say the tax lot's a square. From any point that's within 250 feet from that square, from that tax lot, anything within that circle gets notified. Even if it only barely touches, say it just barely touches a corner of your property, you'll be notified. And so that's anything within inside of that 200 or 500 square foot, or I'm so used to saying square foot, 200 to 250 or 500 foot radius.
And then I guess the other part is because on the, basically on every type except type 1, there is a newspaper notice, so like, let's say I regularly get the gruesome outrage and I see the notice, even if I'm outside the range, could I still like go to a hearing if I was just interested? But-
Totally. That's why we do that. That's why it's a requirement too. Excuse me, is because it doesn't, not everybody, sorry, not everybody checks their mail, or a lot of people I know, and I'm sure I'm guilty of this too. Sometimes you get something from the city and you're like, don't need to look at that until you're like, wait, what's going on right next door? So that's why we put it in the newspaper as well, and on our website, so that way anybody can come, and because it's not just, we don't only allow those people that are close or affected, it's the whole city is affected in some sort of way, right? Whether it's someone's building a new house or there's a large apartment complex, people are always wondering what's going on, so everybody's welcome to go to a meeting or put in a comment. You don't have to be a neighbor to have a comment.
And then the third column is what we call kind of our long-range planning application types, and those are our type 4 applications. And those have to do with if you're changing the zoning map or changing the text in the comprehensive plan or the development code. Those are the bigger ticket policy items for the community. A lot of the time when we do those updates, we also have different committees at the same time reviewing those changes prior to those changes making their way up to the planning commission for review. When we review those type of applications, we do a lot of community engagement because, like I said, they're policy decisions. Planning commission is actually making a recommendation to city council, and city council is the ultimate decision maker on those type 4 applications. If we're changing uses in a zone, or changing the zoning of different properties, we will, by state law, we need to send out a ballot measure 56 notice. And that notice has special language from the state that we have to put on the notice. We can't change the language or anything, and it goes directly out to those property owners. And then we do, newspaper, public hearing notice. We notice Metro, and we also notice the state because they want to review those bigger ticket policy decisions and making sure that Troutdale is meeting all state and regional requirements. The community members can come testify to both planning commission and to city council. Oftentimes we'll hold community open houses. We'll do property owner mailings, newsletter articles, stakeholder interviews with folks that might be affected. We do community surveys. We'll have project pages on our websites, and sometimes we have an email distribution list directly to those people who want to be notified about specific actions that are taking place.
What's vacation right away? Because I'd want to sign up for that.
So a vacation right away is when you vacate, when a property owner is vacating a right of way. And so like a street or an alleyway. And they ask to vacate that, and then if the city says yes, then half of that right of way will go to the property owner. Their lot line will get moved, and the other half of the right of way will go to, the opposite property owners.
Hey, excuse me, this is Jim Sunderland. Sorry, I have a hard stop here at 8:15. So I will excuse myself, and Twyla, can I catch up with you afterwards if I missed anything important?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you all very much. Sorry I have to go. But we'll see you at the next meeting, undoubtedly in person.
Sounds good.
Or tell them watch the video.
And then the next two columns is,
Actually, Jared, before you go on, I have a quick question. So where, if at all, does like the definitions and development code reorg that the planning commission has been working on for the last several months, where does that fit into this structure?
so those are text amendments to the development code, and so that's a type 4 application. And so planning commission, they're working on some amendments. And then once we have a good amendment package, we'll have to figure out some community engagement strategies. How are we gonna take this out to the community to get feedback?
So eventually, the various discussions that have been going on for the last several months will get rolled up into a package that will be then presented to others. Okay.
Yep. And then the last two columns are what I'm calling kind of like special plans, projects, and studies that the community development department, we often take on. And some of these studies, sometimes they get incorporated into maybe our transportation system plan, or maybe part of these studies get incorporated into our comprehensive plan. We just don't know, but we take on these bigger studies. And so I provided some examples here for you. So we have, the Sandy Riverfront Trail Plan, our town center plan, our natural hazard mitigation plan, the Oregon Fire Marshal's grant that we're currently working on. Excuse me. And we do a lot of different community engagement activities. Excuse me, Dakota, do you want to follow up?
Yeah, we do, so that's why if you notice it says community engagement, and then they're not, so these aren't applications, these are things that we are doing to gather information, and like Eric had mentioned, they might roll into either becoming their own plan, similar to how Town Center happened, or the Parks Master Plan, or they may be formed into like code amendments, depending on how they land. So, right now, we're, like the parking study that we're working with, that may be going into our comprehensive plan. These are also things that we update, like, so our comprehensive plan, we update, it has to be updated every so many years. We're gonna be doing that pretty soon. We'll be starting that process, and that's a long process. And that is where, more community engagement comes into those types of plans, because these are bigger studies to really get the public's opinion, rather than, an application that comes in that's based on development code. These aren't based on development code. These are things we're trying to figure out a better way to do something within our city, or where is an issue that we can find a fix, and that requires talking to the public to then actually formulate some sort of plan or some sort of analytics to then go back, and either it goes into development code, it goes into comp plan, maybe it's muni code, and then we figure out where it's gonna go, what's the best like action that we can make moving forward.
So is that kind of like the stuff that gets dictated by the state, that you have to suddenly, or Metro, and you have to suddenly try to figure out how to fold it into? So that's what you do, okay.
And that's why some will do either studies based on, okay, how are we gonna formulate this, fold this into our code? It's a requirement, we have a deadline by the state. Where do we fold this into our code? What's the best way? Make sure everybody's aware of what's going on too, so if there's a change, then the citizens are aware of what's going on. Because usually those documents from the state are very long and can be very boring to read through.
Most code is.
That's why it's our job to formulate it in a way that's simpler.
One of the thoughts that I had, and this sort of goes to a lot of the thinking that I ended up having to do with the committee role text and the review process or the review ideas behind the planning process, is where can we conceivably, for any of this stuff, but I think in particular for the special plans and projects and for the type 4 efforts, where can we really try to push community involvement as early in the process as possible? As an example, the definitions review that I was just talking about that's going on in Planning Commission, rather than waiting for the Planning Commission to discuss for 6 months and then presenting the roll-up, would there be any way to present or to advertise to the community that this discussion is happening, other than the people who are paying attention to the agenda for the Planning Commission, which isn't that big of an audience, unfortunately, to basically advertise that these discussions are happening and getting some community involvement and input much earlier in the discussion. Because in a lot of ways, I sometimes feel that by the time those roll-ups happen, much of the discussion is already done. And it may feel like, and it could just be my own perception, but it may feel like that that the decisions are made to a large extent. And so, I mean, that's really the thought is where in this whole process can we shift and can we front load the community communications?
In my personal opinion, I think it's a lot with the like comp plan and a lot of these like larger kind of projects that we're doing analytics. That's where we can front load with, and that's something I think CAC could do something really well put together. I think it was been tossed around a couple of ideas of potentially doing like a town hall meeting once a year. I think that's something that's really great, or twice a year, because then that's where we can, as staff, can come and present all these to really, and a lot of that time it's either early on or maybe it's a midway point. But I think for those long range type projects, I think it's really kind of towards that beginning portion of when we need to have an idea of what's going on first as staff, so we can come and actually present something. Otherwise we're not giving the proper information and things change that for what our knowledge is. So I think once we kind of have our idea of what it is and what we're looking to get out of, like what kind of feedback we're looking for, whether it's positive, negative, but what are we trying to, like what questions are we looking to have answered from the community? And then of course, opinions are always welcome. I think so, along with some longer range plans. As far as some of the code stuff, that's a little bit deeper where the public opinion isn't they're not as involved in certain code aspects unless it's like uses that's going to affect people and what they can do with the property that they own. Of course, that is where very much we need public involvement. But as far as some code, slight tweaks or changes, like an omnibus, which we're going to be putting together, which is just a regular update to the code of fixing Scrivener's errors, things of that nature, formatting, that kind of stuff where it doesn't require a whole lot of public engagement in that aspect. So I think it really depends on the project. And then when we have the project, then that way, hey, we can really roll this out there and get it to everybody, and let's try to see what we can get back. Because I think as a planner, the biggest issues we have a lot of the time with these is not enough community feedback. And even when we put out surveys or mailings, I feel like sometimes we get the information a little too late, where it's down the road now, they're hearing about it at, say, a city council meeting, and they're wondering why then anybody get involved. Well, we asked for surveys like 6 months ago, we never heard anything. So we're trying to go with the information that we have. So I think that's where, on those projects, really starting off early and trying to really push the community to answer those surveys, respond to those mailings, come to a public forum, come to our meetings, get the voice out there, because that's where we're actually going to get the real opinions that we can actually formulate into the plans, rather than I heard about this, but I didn't know what it was until it was too late type thing. So I think that's something that, as a committee, when we bring it to you guys, that's where then how do we want to do that? What can we do? How can you guys help us get this information out there to everybody? What ideas do we have? What can we do to get more public information? And that's also why First Friday was something that Erica and Chris Ann really championed, trying to get out there and be more visible, and hey, ask us questions. We have questions for you too. Sort of thing.
I do want to piggyback on the code amendment project that the planning commission has been working on. So on the planning page, there's a new little button that's called active projects. Currently, I am working on a new page for that project, for that code amendment project, that'll explain what the planning commission's been looking at. And down at the bottom of the page, I'm gonna link the planning commission videos, so people can watch the work sessions that they've been doing, so they can listen in on those conversations, and if they have comments, they can know where to go staff-wise, and then if they want to show up to a planning commission meeting, we'll list all of the planning commission meetings where they'll be talking about those subjects.
Sounds good. Yeah, and the only reason I mention that is because I know there's been cases in relatively recent memory where a apparently innocuous definition in the development code or the fuzziness of that definition causes no end of discussions and disagreements for certain applications, such as the definition of school. And a few of you know which application I'm talking about. So little innocuous definitions changes that sometimes slip by can cause a cascade of effect if assumptions are made and yeah, it's just, this is the idea of getting more eyes on things. I think will ultimately be beneficial to us.
And I would agree, especially because as planners, I'm sure you've listened to the planning commission meetings. It's good for us to have some gray area when it comes to terms, because if we overly define, if you ever look at City of Phoenix, if you look at their table, I've looked at it helping out someone before. They list out every possible thing you can think of, and it is a real pain to read through. So some of it needs to be, some of it needs to be a little bit gray, but you are right. Some definitions spark a long discussion, and which is good, but also that's when we realize there could be a little bit of cleaning up here. This is something that we could actually dive into and have a better definition for. And I think that's a perfect example of like what you had mentioned, because that right there, that if we can have a little bit more twist on that, then we can actually have it defined a little bit clearer, so we don't have as much leeway with either side.
Or gymnasium.
Gym, yeah, that's been the most relevant one, just in my eyes, from the project that I worked on. Yeah, most recent.
Any other committee questions?
I did have a couple.
Yeah.
So I guess I was just wondering, not that it necessarily affects me much, but I was noticing that when things escalate to a type 4, then council kind of gets brought in, but is council still informed of like the other 3 types when they happen?
Simple answer, do you want to take this one?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Simple answer is they're not the deciding body, so they don't get brought to them. So type 1, type 2, type 3, they don't get brought to city council, just like a type 1, type 2 don't get brought to planning commission. Unless there's an appeal. And then that's when things, so say there's an appeal on a type 3, that automatically becomes type 4, and then it goes to the city council for their decision of whether or not they're going to amend, I'm gonna mess up the terminology right now, my mind's a little fuzzy. Unless they're gonna either hold the decision that planning commission had, say, no, the planning commission was wrong, we're gonna reverse the decision, or they're going to amend the decision, maybe add more conditions that planning commission might have missed or something. That's if an appeal is made, just like if there's an appeal for a type 2, then that goes to the planning commission, then up.
I didn't mean like brought to them for decision making. I just meant like if they're notified like, hey, these projects are going on type of thing.
No, unless they're following our webpage. Something that I know that Erica puts together for the planning commission is kind of a forward-looking calendar. Just kind of, here's all the things that are going on within our, within planning. That's something that she puts together for them, so they're aware, but I don't believe there's anything like that for city council.
I was also wondering what it means, just a language question, what it means by like, it says plat on here, like minor partition plat or something like that.
The plat is, the plat is the drawing. So if you have say you have your property and you want to partition it, aka split it into 2. So part of that process is you have to have the survey. So the plat is the survey, really. So that's why it's minor partition plat. Yeah, it's a term that we use. kind of like tax law is interchangeable with plat, math, and you'll hear kind of interchanged a lot. Planning has everything, has a lot of terms and acronyms. There's a lot of acronyms.
Language.
That's always the running joke, that's just, planning couldn't survive if it didn't have at least a 3-letter acronym to live by, so.
And I guess that goes all the way even up to like the top levels of government in the country, so.
Exactly,
Yeah.
we talk about the ORS, that's an acronym, you know, because they all have these really long terms that we just want to shorten down, but then it makes it really, I know when I very first started as a planner, I happened to be on a staff meeting day, I sat down in that staff meeting, and they were talking about CUs and DRs and the ORS and the ZORD, and I was writing down all these acronyms, I had no idea what any of them meant. So I had to go and do a bunch of research. That was the very first day I ever started in planning.
Great, well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions from public? Paul, anything for the add? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on to committee comments. And I'll start with you. Oh, sorry,
If you don't mind.
yeah.
Yeah, I have to tend to some farm animals for someone. I looked up a lot of videos on graffiti, which was really interesting, even with people who do the graffiti. So there's a whole bunch of really cool videos out there from Portland. So what I figured out is that there's a budget, they hire somebody to do it, they're gonna be closing part of Highway 84 soon so that they could deal with it. Sometimes there's kits available for you to remove graffiti yourself, but then when my issue with the bridge, with the gangs, and there was another, on the west side, there was some more graffiti and there was an encampment too, is that it's more environmentally encumbersome because of the water situation. So it's not nothing I could go rogue and try to match paint colors. So the question is, I'm asking is, who do we ask, where are we at priority on the list with the money budgets to come to Troutdale to do graffiti cleanup here? Especially what I consider a historic marker, since that's the oldest state-owned truss bridge, you know, owned by Oregon. I just don't like, again, summer's coming up, and then other gangs, because I live on the water, so see different gangs and different people come and stuff like that to do their tagging and marketing, and wind up beating each other. So it'd just be interesting to know how do we go about, what is the process? Or if you can even tell me who to talk to find out what is the process, to see where we are. I just didn't know as a citizen that I qualified to do so. I just think that there's a lot more loud noises at night. People fighting with each other, there's people that are on drugs, and it's getting louder since summer's coming. The traffic is getting, people are racing across the bridge, going west to east again. I'm almost even thinking we need that slow down thing, or I don't know if that's even tracked, so you guys know, we know how many times people go past 50 miles an hour. We've had, my brother-in-law came, opened his car door midnight, dog there, 70 speed across the bridge, dead dog.
Ooh.
That was last summer. It just, there's all sorts of nighttime activity, you know, happening, but I just think graffiti is one thing we could maybe just kind of say not here. I wanted to know, is Tad's, that property still allowed to be a restaurant?
Taz is that?
Tad's Chicken and Dumplings.
Oh, the dumpling. So it's not condemned
Okay,
from our side. So that's in a unique situation. So that side of the river, while we handle building permits and flood permits, that's actually the county, they work the NSA, another acronym. So they have all the regulations for the natural scenic area. So all the permits for planning go through the county, and then we do the building permits. It's part of our intergovernmental agreement, IGA. So again, we have a lot of acronyms.
so do you know if it's
But-
allowed to continue to be a restaurant? And the reason I'm asking is, I don't know if at this point, if we talk to Chris Gorsick or somebody to get some legislative help, is if to not make it cumbersome for historic landmarks that also feature our natural beauty, which I think is an enhancement, tells that people, hey, this is so special, this is amazing, and this is why we gotta keep it clean. You know, if there's some way that it could be assisted from Troutdale's end.
I do believe that it's still able to be a restaurant.
Okay,
Again, I don't know the county standards. I believe that's a permitted use. If it's not, and it's similar to the city standards, like say our standards in the city are, if it was a conditional use and it's been vacant for over 12 months, they have to go through the process again to see if it can be a condition, if it would be approvable. I know it's been vacant for a little while. I don't know because we don't have zoning. We don't even have zoning regulations, so I'm not sure what their zoning is. That's a county thing. So I'm sorry, I'm not giving you a whole lot of info, but it is really weird. That's one of the ones that we kind of have to like pass the buck to the county, which we don't like to do because we like to actually help and answer questions. But as far as I know, I think it still can as long as it was a permitted use outright. If it's not a permitted use outright, and say it was a non-conforming, then, and it's been vacant for 12 months, that's typically a state standard, then if it was non-conforming, then it wouldn't be able to continue because it's been vacant for over 12 months. Again, it's really the county standards on whatever they follow, or however they have them written. But if it was permitted use outright, then it's able to continue to be a restaurant.
and right now, the city doesn't know if they have an outright.
Yeah, 'cause we don't have any of those planning records.
Okay.
We just have the building records
Okay.
for it.
But we can follow up.
We can follow up, we can ask that question to the county.
Okay,
And
that just.
we've
be
been getting a
nice.
lot of calls on that
Okay,
property,
because I just
so.
wanna see then how we can assist, you know what I mean, if there's some roadblocks, because, you know, we've already lost Shirley's, Tippecanoe. It'd just be sad to, that not to be able to continue to be a restaurant if that is, and I don't know the facts right now on that.
Is your question that should be a historic landmark, basically?
It's, could be, it's been moved, that wasn't the original location. I don't know the years, and it was really sad, because the lady who ran it that passed away, she was very involved with the Troutdale Historical Society, I was on board for a while, and Judy tried to keep it historic, and she
No,
loved
I
it,
understand
yeah.
that, the interior is,
Yeah,
that,
so I'm not sure if it ever got the distinction of a landmark and what benefits would occur if it did
it's a
have
good
that.
question, yeah.
That's all I have for tonight, and great meeting, thank you for informing us and putting that together, I appreciate that.
No problem.
And I'm gonna go take care of some chickens and cows and stuff.
All right, Adrian,
Have a good night.
take care.
Thanks.
I don't have much, I'm looking forward as much as I can to watching the construction activity next door. I've kind of been every couple days taking pictures, just kind of, I'm probably gonna have like a time-lapse
that'd be great.
PowerPoint thing going on.
Too cool.
That's all I have to do is step out on my deck and snap a picture. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I know I did talk to the at least some of the management of the construction outfit. They went around to all the neighbors, which we appreciate, and answered questions and gave us some contact info for if there's any issues. But so far, and it'll be, it's exciting just to see something happen, and just to see it get done, even if most of us were not terribly happy with how the whole thing went down, most of us weren't. It's still exciting and gratifying just to see it get done, and to stop sitting in limbo. So, yeah, so that's it for me.
Victoria.
Welcome, Frank,
Thank you.
and Jim, who's not with us right now, and yeah, thank you for doing this, that really helped explain things. And that's about it.
Chris.
Well, so I'll say I'm glad to be back and thought we had a good meeting and I'm looking forward to another year of good stuff, and I guess this is mostly just for you now since James left. When we're doing introductions, I forgot to mention I'm also on budget committee.
Oh, that could be useful.
So,
All right, well, welcome
Thank you.
into to our group, and thank you, Dakota, and thank you, Erica, for your presentation. Thank you, Adrian, for all the work that you've put in on that, certainly do appreciate
Yes,
that,
thank
that's
you.
great. And see, we don't have Sandy with, thanks for joining us, Paul, and listening in. And everybody have a wonderful and safe 4th of July.
Stay cool.
Yeah, try and stay cool.
Yeah.
Stay cool. And I believe this is the second first Friday, is this Friday?
I think
Oh, I
it's
think
It got
canceled.
canceled.
Got
Yeah.
canceled.
Because of the heat, yeah.
Okay, I hadn't read that, because I just came
But
to
they
town last
didn't
night,
take
so I
the
just.
sign down that's sitting at the corner.
Mm-hmm.
They need to take that down.
Yeah.
I think they leave it up
That's
usually
season,
all
all
year.
season.
They put a big blast, like if you go to the
Except
city's
the gates.
website at
You're just
all,
like,
it
yeah.
immediately just goes red, letting like Britain just has this thing, you have to exit out of it actually before you move anywhere else. So if anybody is listening or if anybody's talking about going, yeah, please let them know. Heat advisory, yeah, it was dangerous for vendors and everybody alike, so.
But we still encourage folks that wanna go downtown to eat and
Yeah.
visit the shops, please do.
Is there air conditioned?
They are.
They are.
Frank, any comments from your first
Thank you
meeting?
for showing up in person. It's so nice to actually talk to people instead of a Zoom. I mean, not, although I understand that's sometimes the best way to get in on meetings. There's just more communication this way. Adrian, thank you so much for your work on that project. I had a chance to read it before I came in. It's like, that's solid, yeah. Yeah, and I'd like to see your pictures as you're taking them from your back porch. I can help you out with a tree if you need any.
You all have to give
I have
us
a
a
bunch of maples that
presentation.
start growing on my backyard, so I've got a bunch.
That's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is some of those garbage trees that are on 4th Street to go away.
Yeah, yeah, that's a whole other topic for us. We can start talking about trees and canopy.
Trees and tree removal
And climate.
are a hot topic, and I am normally all for tree preservation.
Landmark.
But aside from the fact that most of those trees that are on there on 4th Street are in terrible condition. I also know some of the history as to why those trees were there,
Yeah.
from our across the street neighbor, who is, I believe, the oldest continuous Troutdale resident still in existence. And yeah, she has all the long-term history of what was in that field and the guy that owned it and the
Wow.
developments that she fought for decades, and yeah, I can fill you in on a lot of that if you're interested.
Yeah, we
You'll
should
have to
talk.
make another PowerPoint.
Well, I do wanna mention, speaking of tree codes and the topic of trees, planning, we might have to be coming back actually in the next month or two with some questions, for the CAC, to get your feedback on.
That would be amazing. I read the tree code and I am much into nature and that. Northwest.
Which trees you plant where is frequently a topic of heavy
Yeah,
discussion.
right tree, right place.
Yeah.
All right.
Adrian, it's a topic of what?
What?
You said which tree you plant, where is a topic?
Frequently a topic of significant discussion.
Yes, yes. All right, well, I just want to thank everybody, it was a great meeting, thank you so much for your handout and the explanation, I think this like coordinates so well with the work that we're trying to move forward. Welcome new members, also want to just call out a couple fun things that were finished in the community. I noticed that trail down by the airport connecting to Chinook Landing is beautiful and people are out there using it, walking their dogs. And from our other public safety equity, that the police are also out there on four-wheelers, they are out there patrolling. So that's great to hear that we have that access and then people watching over it. And then from my nurse emergency management hat, just want to remind people to check on your neighbors because of the heat this weekend, to make sure that people have what they need to stay safe. So that is Anybody want to make a motion to
I make a
adjourn?
motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, Paul.